Hey everyone, welcome back to another Beast of the Mesozoic review. Well, finally, the Wave 3 Tyrannosaurs are here, and kicking off this early review is with my most highly anticipated figure from the entire series, Daspletosaurus torosus. And as always, a huge thank you to David for sending out these production samples for these early reviews. Your continued support of the channel is very much appreciated. I am absolutely giddy right now. This Daspletosaurus, like I said earlier, is my most highly anticipated figure from the entire series. Daspletosaurus is my favorite Tyrannosaur species of all time, and always feels like my most anticipated figures in these Beasts of the Mesozoic series always ends up in Wave 3, back with the ceratopsians. Torosaurus was the one I was most looking forward to, but like I am absolutely stoked. I got this beautiful Das in my hands right now. I've been so excited for this figure. Now, Wave 3 should be hitting, U.S. shores in the next 4 to 6 weeks at the time of this video. Then those will start shipping out. But if you want to pre-order this figure, you can save some money if you order it now. The Daspletosaurus for the pre-order price is around $125. Once it comes into stock, it's going to jump up to around $140. So if you want to save $15, I highly recommend that you pre-order down below to the link from Creative Beast Studios to secure these beautiful, beautiful looking Tyrannosaur figures for yourself. So let's go over the package really quick before we crack open this beautiful looking figure. You got the Beast of the Mesozoic logo printed right on the window box. We got the Daspletosaurus all shown off nicely in this nice window packaging. Daspletosaurus along the side of the box, Tyrannosaurus series 1/18 scale. And then we have this beautiful artwork of the Daspletosaurus standing on top of a very unfortunate Alberta ceratops. And then spinning the box around, we got the Beast of the Mesozoic label on the side, and on the back of the box we have this beautiful promo shot of the actual figure with some information about Daspletosaurus, and down here are the rest of the Wave 3 Tyrannosaurs. I did get one more figure for an early review, but we'll keep that for a secret for a day or so until I get to it, and you guys can just speculate which one it is. So enough about the packaging. Let's crack open Mr. Das over here and take a closer look. And here is the Daspletosaurus of the packaging, and all I have to say is, wow, I am absolutely blown away by this figure. Just the sculpting in detail and paint apps, as what you come to expect from Beasts of the Mesozoic, is top notch, and I absolutely am loving the nice natural looking color scheme. Some of the figures can be a little bit too vibrant for some other people's taste, but I think this one hit the mark right for being colorful yet natural looking. Now, the color scheme is based off the real life animal, the Antsingy leaf chameleon, and the body on this thing is just a dark maroon color with some black markings and a nice light colored head. I think that adds some very nice contrast to it, and it has very nice, almost peaceful looking green eyes, which is a nice touch, and absolutely loving that splash of blue on the underside of the throat. Just all around, this thing is just absolutely amazing. It's so nice to have the final body type of the Tyrannosaur series in hand. This thing is a lot of fun to play around with. And now for measurements, this figure is a whopping 20 inches long from the tip of the snout to the tip of the tail, or 50.8 centimeters. And about 6.5 inches tall to the top of the head. Obviously, the height will change depending on how the figure positioned, or 16.5 centimeters. So Daspletosaurus in real life was 30 feet long, or 9 meters. So I put this figure perfectly in that 1/18 scale range. Now let's zoom and take a look at some of the finer details on this figure, starting with this absolutely beautiful head sculpt. Right now, my favorite head sculpt out of all the Tyrannosaur series. This is absolutely fantastic. Now, this particular Daspletosaurus represents the species Torosus. There's two others, Wilsoni and Horneri. It'd be kind of cool if David went back and resculpted the head so we can have all three different species. Maybe that'll be something for the future. But yeah, the head sculpt is absolutely breathtaking. The crest above the eyes are nicely done. You have a little bit, they're done in gray, and there's a little bit of like maroon dry brushing on here. The camera, it's kind of hard to pick up on the camera, but there's a lot of subtle details on this paint scheme. It's a beautifully painted figure. Head is decked out in a nice light color. You have a little bit of orange, yellows, and cream for most of the head. You have some of that maroon markings bleeding in. You have a nice rough patch along the snout. The nostrils are nicely sculpted. You have this really nice green eye with a black pupil, very, very nicely done. You can see the mouth can close completely flush and open up. We have a lot of nicely painted teeth, and let's turn the figure over so we can take a look inside the mouth. I will say, one of my complaints with some of the other figures, I feel like inside the mouth was a little too plain and flat looking, but there's definitely more washes in here to really bring out all that mouth detail. You can clearly see the nasal passages sculpted in the roof of the mouth, and a lot of gloss coat in here to give it that wet look. Nice transition of colors on the gums, like I said earlier, to some of them just like bright pink, and there was like no transition. It kind of took away, from the look of, the rest of the figure was beautifully painted, but inside the mouth was kind of flat. But I'm glad to see more attention to detail for the mouth paint on the Daspletosaurus, and with this nice very darkly colored tongue. Let's zoom in there, and the tongue is articulated. Let's pop it out a little bit so you can see a little bit better, and then zooming back out, let's take a look at the Daspletosaurus from the front. You can see it has binocular vision right here. You can see those green eyes staring right into your soul. And then taking a look at the top right here, there's a view of the head from the top, and you got all that nice maroon and black mixing in right there on top of the head. And let's turn the figure over and take a look at the underside of the throat. Love that splash of blue on the throat right there. That is a really nice touch, all nice fine scale detail all over the neck hoodie, and then going down to the body with a very nicely detailed body. And Daspletosaurus had the largest proportionate forearms of any Tyrannosaur species, and hopefully when I get the other Tyrannosaur figures in, I can compare the size of these arms to the others. But yes, this definitely looks nice and proportionate for a Daspletosaurus. Those hand claws are decked out in a glossy black paint, and then go down to the body. We have all these nice folds and wrinkles with all this nice maroon and dark markings all blended in nicely together. On the other side, we have a nice cream coat for the underside of the figure that goes all the way down to the tip of the tail. And then going to the very powerful looking hind legs, more of that maroon color and light color bleeded in with those dark markings. And then going down to the feet. The feet are very, very nicely detailed. You can see the toe claws are decked out in glossy black paint. You see the dew claw hanging off the back over here. And then going down to the tail, more of the same, the maroon and dark color, and goes all the way down to the tip of the tail. So yeah, this is a really, really impressive figure, and you can see it can stand perfectly fine without the included display base. Now for articulation, the mouth can close completely flush. The jaw is just a tad loose on mine, so it doesn't close perfectly flush. And if I hold it together, you can see it closes really nice. Some of the other Tyrannosaur figures, it was kind of tough to get the mouth closed completely flush, but I might put a little bit of something tacky in there to keep that mouth a little bit tighter. The mouth can open up that wide. We already covered the tongue articulation. The head can look up that far, and it can look down that far. Now with Cyberzoic, David did go back and redo some of the neck articulation on Tyrannus and Dryptosaurus, where it's a segmented hoodie to get more side-to-side movement. I'm pretty sure Daspletosaurus is going to be included in Cyberzoic. I think it's going to be part of the Desert Clan, so I'm sure we're going to get another neck kit when that eventually gets announced. But for side-to-side movement, let's look at it from the front right here and zoom out. You can get some pretty decent side-to-side movement on that joint. That looks really, really good. It's probably a lot better when we get that redone neck kit. But yeah, nice side-to-side movement. Going to the neck, you get some upwards and downwards movement on that other joint. For the arms, they can swing forwards and backwards, and you can pivot them out just a little bit. You get a nice rotation at the elbow and 90 degrees of bend. You get a nice articulation at that wrist joint as well as rotation. You do have a torso slit at the midpoint of the body. You can get some upwards movement from that and some pretty good downwards movement. Let's zoom out a little bit so you can see what that looks like. And then putting it back into the neutral position, let's take a view of that torso joint from the side as I try not to knock over my studio lights. You can get some nice bend at the side from that torso joint. Here's a view from the top to show you how much movement you can get on that. It's a nice flexible piece right here, so you can get some pretty decent movement out of it. And for the legs can move forwards pretty well, and they can move backwards. This figure's still really tight because I just got it in, really haven't broken it in too much yet. And then going down to the knee, you get some nice bend at the knee. One thing I wish it was like some kind of like collapsible hip joint to allow better knee flexibility, like so you can get these things in actual sitting pose. But you know, I know David's wants to keep these figures looking as accurate as possible, doesn't want to add too many joints, and I do understand the compromises that goes into these figures. And lastly, for the tail, you do have a 3-segmented tail. You get some upwards and downwards movements. I think I almost just popped it out of the joint right there. Upwards, downwards movement, and side to side on that joint. And then for the other part right here, you get the same movement, side to side, up and down. And then the last part right here is a bendable, flexible rubber wire for upwards and downwards movement. And you can bend it in any position you like for more poseability. And now for accessories, you do get a display stand, 2 articulated hind feet, and multiple feet. So you can have different poses for this figure. And of course, you do get the nice collector cards featuring that beautiful artwork that's on the packaging. You get the Daspletosaurus standing over a poor Albertoceratops and then spinning the card around. Get a picture of the actual figure and some facts about Daspletosaurus. And let's first take a look at the new base. This is a new style base that's included with Daspletosaurus, Gorgosaurus, Albertosaurus, and Tarbosaurus. Really, really nicely done. We got some nice moss sculpted in and some roots coming out. And we got some nice rocky detail all over this. Very well painted base. Nice wash over it to bring out all that nice rocky detail. The underside of the base is hollow. You do have an H-clip right here to take this small rock off to give you more display options. And then right here we have this solid metal post, which the non-articulated foot can plug into it to keep it nice and stable on the base. Now these are the articulated legs. The ones that come pre-installed on the figure are the non-articulated. They're much more solid. They add better stability to the figures. So let's just go over the articulation quick on these. You get some nice range of motion. At that ankle joint, you do get some rotation. And then at the feet, you do get some side to side, up and down, and some wiggly waggly on that ball joint here. Then you can pop this open-toed foot and put any of these on here for different posing options. Moving on with comparisons, here it is with the Hammond Collection Robert Muldoon. He is a 3 3/4 inch figure, which means he's 1/18 scale, so this scales perfectly with the Beasts of the Mesozoic series and gives you an idea of how big Daspletosaurus was in real life. And next up, let's do some Daspletosaurus from other companies. Here is Holland Goods, and here is P&S. Both of these are 1/35 scale. The Beast of Mesozoic one is my definitive DAS in my collection right now. Still waiting for my definitive 1/35 scale DAS, but yeah, right now the Beast of the Mesozoic one is taking the cake. Let's do a couple Mattel Hammond Collection figures. Here it is with their Parasaurolophus, and here it is with Corythosaurus. Daspletosaurus actually coexisted with these two hadrosaurs in the Oldman formation, and at least Corythosaurus in the Dinosaur Park formation. So that's why I love Beast of Mesozoic. It mixes so well with Mattel's Hammond Collection, because it's also around that 1/18 scale-ish range. I just love mixing and matching the two series together. Now, the biggest appeal of the Tyrannosaur series is we can finally have a Tyrannosaur square off to the ceratopsian, and Daspletosaurus may be the most versatile Tyrannosaur in the entire series. How many ceratopsians can pair up with this guy? So from the Oldman formation, we have the massive Albertoceratops and also Wendyceratops. And for the Judith River formation, we have Spicliphalus, Medusaceratops, and Avaceratops, and we also have Dromaeosaurus that can also be thrown into the mix. So yeah, like I said, this guy can go with a lot of ceratopsians. And we're also not done. We still have to do the Dinosaur Park formation, and it can go with Styracosaurus and Chasmosaurus. Let's get Spicliphalus' tail off to the side over here. So yeah, this guy is just super, super versatile for all the ceratopsians he can mess around with. And lastly, here is it lined up with all 5 body types from the Tyrannosaur series, from the small Ceratosaurus to Chinsusaurus, Bistaherverser. Here's the Daspletosaurus and the massive Tyrannosaurus Rex. So yes, it's so cool that have all 5 body types lined up just to see the size difference between all these species and what an absolute unit Tyrannosaurus rex was. So final thoughts on Beast of the Mesozoic, Daspletosaurus. If you can't tell from this review, I am absolutely in love with this thing. It's my favorite figure in the entire series, maybe my favorite figure in the entire Beast of the Mesozoic series so far. It's just an absolute joy to play around with. You know, the T-Rex is basically a brick. It's very hard to mess around with, but this slightly smaller size class just strikes the right balance with the playability of it. You know, it stands fine on 2 legs without the base. The articulation is just as good as any of the other figures that are smaller than it. It's just a beautifully painted figure. And I feel like the paint apps were taken up a notch with Wave 3, and I just absolutely love this thing. You can't go wrong pick up any figure from Beast of Mesozoic. I always say it, you know, start out with one of the smaller, like $30 figures, see if you like them, and just work your way up. And, you know, T's and P's for your wallet, because this series will destroy it, and you know, I'm fine with that. Always wanted highly articulated dinosaur figures for my whole entire collecting life, and these things are definitely living up to it. So that will do it for the review. I got one more early review from this series to do, and that should be up in the next day or so. And then when, you know, my actual order ships, well, with everyone else's, I'll be reviewing those when those come in the next few weeks. So stay tuned for all that. And as always, if you're enjoying the content on this channel, show your support by hitting that subscription button just below the video. Each subscription helps out the channel tremendously, and it's greatly appreciated. And I'll see you guys for the next one.